Hi everyone, I'm George.
I'm Bryn.
And today we're going to aquascape this beautiful Aquascaper 600. You may remember one of my previous videos, I did kind of invite you guys to have a scaping day with me. And Bryn kind of won this informal competition. We got chatting on Facebook Messenger. Long story short, Bryn's really into filmmaking and photography, so he's brought some cool equipment with him, and between us we're going to create some epic aquascaping content for you guys. So I'm really excited. I think Bryn's excited.
I'm excited.
So let's go. So many of you may be already aware of the Evolution Aqua 600, but just to remind you, it's 60 centimeters long or 24 inches, 20 inches front to back or 50 centimeters, and 36 centimeters tall or 14 inches. This gives us a volume of around 108 litres or I think 27 US gallons. Beautiful aquarium, super low iron glass. The reason we like to use low iron glass, it's super transparent, which gives us a view of the aquascape that's as minimalist as can be, so no distractions. We're going to use glass inlet and outlet. We're going to use a really cool filter from our friends at Oase. Real big fan of the Oase Biomaster filters, been using them since they were first released in the UK. This is a brand new one, the 350, which is more than enough for this aquarium. I actually did use a 600 originally, but actually it's a little bit too much flow for me, so I've downgraded a little bit to the 350. We're going to be using Tropica soil, we're going to be using some awesome hardscape and some awesome plants, of course. So can't wait to start the process. Bryn's going to help, he's going to film some really cool stuff. Hopefully we can weave into the video for you, hopefully to enjoy the journey with me. So, escape. The first job is to add our Tropica soil. Brilliant product, proven performer. I've been using it for about 3 years in pretty much all of the aquascapes I've created. Has lots of nutrients available to the plant roots, has a high cation exchange capacity. This means that it takes the nutrients from the water, locks it into the soil, makes those nutrients available to the plant roots. Buffers the water around about pH 6.5, so it softens and slightly acidifies the water, which makes it an ideal home for most fish and shrimp. Great home for bacteria colonisation as well. It doesn't need pre-rinsing, and just a really great product. Now I've got a 3 litre bag here, and then I've got a couple of opened 9 litre bags as well. I'm going to mix them all together, and then we'll top off with some of the powder type, which is a much finer grain, which is perfect for planting more finer textured plants. So let's do that right now. Before I finish adding the substrate, I'm going to add the hardscape, and you should know by now how important the hardscape is, but I'm going to reiterate it anyway. It's the backbone of the layout, so start off with a strong hardscape, good impact, and then we can quite easily create a strong aquascape. If we had no hardscape or a weak hardscape, then it's going to be really challenging to create a high impact aquascape. You have to really rely on the plants, and that can be quite challenging. Okay, so I have some beautiful wood here. I don't actually remember the type. I think it might be extra large Redmore, and I have used this before in previous aquascapes, including a discus layout, which I did a couple of years ago. I'll leave a link up there and in the description. It does really want to float. I have been soaking it for a couple of weeks and it still wants to float, so we are going to have to take some measures to ensure it sinks, and that will probably include leaning rocks on it and things like this, and partially burying it in the substrate. But we'll start off with the biggest piece. We've got 3 pieces, 1, 2, 3. We might not need all 3, but better to have too much materials than not enough. In my opinion, if you want to buy anything more of in aquascaping, it's hardscape. Always better to have too much materials to choose from than not enough. It gives you much more options to create beautiful layouts. If you want to practice new layouts, and this is the only way you're going to really improve your aquascaping, is by practicing, is to have more materials to choose from. Okay, so I'm looking at the wood, I'm thinking what's going to look the best, what looks the ugliest, which we need to hide. So you can see here, there's some sawn off portions here and here. It would make perfect sense if these were buried in the soil, so not visible. We want to avoid anything that looks unnatural in the aquarium, ideally. So we can, 2 basic ideas is to have the wood coming this way, or the wood coming this way. Now, because of where the aquarium is situated in the room, we also have this beautiful Aquascaper 1200. We kind of, I think it would make sense to come away from the 1200 and not into the 1200. So I think I am going to, for now anyway, positioning it kind of over here. The main kind of focal area of the stone ideally needs to be placed around about 1/3 of the way along. This is in guidance with the rule of thirds, which we use a lot when we're composing layouts, and this basically means it's more aesthetically balanced. Now we want to think about the light as well. The wood is going to be encroaching on the light. We need to remove the light potentially for maintenance, etc. So we just need to make sure that it's not going to disrupt our lighting too much. So it makes sense, I think. I quite like this wood coming out here. I don't have any small children for their eyes to be poked out on it or anything, thankfully. I'm quite happy with that for now. I mean, we can always go back to it and we can always take a seat back, relax, take it all in. How does that look? How does that make me feel? Can I make that look any better? If I can, then make the necessary adjustments. Let's move on to our second piece. And it makes sense. We've got a lot of negative space here now, so it makes sense to fill that. So I think if we maybe have this kind of interlocking, I haven't practiced this layout, so I am literally creating on the fly. Conscious not to have the wood too close to the glass, otherwise it becomes tricky to maintain. I like that. What do you think, Bryn?
Yeah, I think that looks brilliant.
And then let's have our third piece. Tommy's here. Hello, Tommy. You gonna say hello? I'm gonna say hello. You've been for a walk. You've been for a walk with your mummy. Have you? Don't bite it. Tommy was in my last video and he took a particular shining to the crypts. So he's obviously a crypt fan like his dad. Okay, now looking at the most empty space, how can we best fill that creatively? I think we don't necessarily have to use this. And remember, we do have some beautiful stones to use as well, which I haven't told you about yet, but you'll soon find out about those. Oh, looks like it was custom designed to be there. Look at that, slots in perfectly. Now, my only fear now is it's going to want to float. We're happy with the wood so far. Let's add our stone. Frodo stone from Adam Pascella, my Polish aquascaping friend. He owns the ADA Idea Studio in Poland. I'm actually going there next month, which at the time of filming is February 2019. So you can look forward to some hopefully awesome content coming your way. So we've positioned that again, rule of thirds, slightly off. Work our way down to the next piece in terms of size. And then I'm deliberately going to try to kind of balance that stone on the wood to hopefully prevent it from floating. Now I do have a crazy idea, bear with me. Look at the size of that thing. Go bold or go home. Okay guys, that's the hardscape pretty much complete. If you've got good materials to start with, then it's actually relatively straightforward to create a nice hardscape layout. If you stick to a few guidelines like the rule of thirds, paying attention to strata, these are the natural lines in the rock, are kind of creating a flow towards the main kind of weight, the main focal area of the wood, which is kind of around here. You've got the strata running along here and it's all kind of converging. And it looks hopefully natural. It's something you might not see in nature necessarily, but it gives you this essence of nature. And that's what nature aquariums are about. They're not necessarily directly copying a scene from nature. You can do this. This is called diorama style aquascaping. But what I'm doing is more of a classical nature aquarium style. I'm really pleased with it. I think Bryn's impressed.
I'm extremely impressed.
He's extremely impressed. And I'm really excited to plant. We're going to top off, before we do plant, we're going to top off with some powder, Tropica soil powder, as a final top layer of the soil, and then we'll plant into it. Now I do have some sort of classic George Farmer plants. I hate people that do that. What have I just done that for? Classic George Farmer plants, keep those hands away. When I asked, some of you may have given me feedback, guys, on what you wanted to see in this scape. Some of you wanted biotopes, some of you wanted super complex hardscape, some of you wanted a collaboration with Yuri's. I am seeing Yuri's at the end of the month, so it sort of makes sense to do maybe more of a collaboration with him then. But do you know what, guys? I am going to stick to my own personal roots. It is my hobby as well, and I just happen to kind of share it with you guys. So I'm going to stick to classic nature aquarium plants, which are relatively low maintenance. Okay, that's time to prep our plants. Start off by giving them a quick squirt. I've had these in holding for a few weeks. Most of them have been in my Aquascaper 1200, just sat in the bottom of the tank. And yeah, time to prepare. So we've got some Bucophilandra red. Take out your label, take out your pot, remove your rock wool or stone wool, And then what you can do, top tip, to get rid of the remaining pieces of stone wool, just massage them under the water, the roots under the water. What I like to do is also trim those roots back a little bit. This just promotes new root growth and makes the planting process a bit easier. So Bucophalandra comes from Borneo, really easy, low light plant, likes to be shaded. So I probably will be using floating plants in this aquarium as well. I do like my floating plants at the moment. Helps prevent algae, good for the whole system, produces lots of oxygen through the roots because they grow so quickly, floating plants, because they are so close to the light. They have an abundance of CO2 in the air as well. So we just repeat this process. Most of you have seen me prepare plants before, so I'm going to rely now on Bryn's time lapse. Okay guys, so we've prepared some of our plants. This is by no means all the plants we're going to use, but these are the plants I've got on hand right now. I'm probably going to nip to Aquarium Gardens or even potentially harvest some excess plants from the 1200 and or the Foodville Flex. But right now the brand new plants we've got are Anubias petites. We've got one pot of that and I've separated that into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 portions. We have, I think, 4 or 5 pots of the, I think it's 4 pots of the Cryptocorini parva, and I've separated that into as many individual portions as I can to get best economical coverage. And then we've got 5 pots of the Bucophalandra red, and then 2 pots of Microsorum terrapus narrow. These are all Tropica plants. A huge fan of Tropica. I go there every month to help out with some filming and content creation. Produced in Denmark in the nurseries over there. Really, really high quality. And no matter where you buy your plants from, a top tip is to plant as heavily as you can with the healthiest plants you can. And to ensure this health, then have a chat with your retailer, your store, find out when they're going to get their next shipment of plants delivered, and then try to get there on the same day or the day after to ensure maximum freshness, because that's going to be at the peak plant's health, and that's when you're going to get the best chance of success with your aquarium. Time to plant our Cryptocorini parva. Simply grab our portion, push it in gently, let go, and it stays in the soil. Now, top tip, which I actually learnt from my good German full-time aquascaper friend Yuri's, plant into dry soil. And I always do this now, and it is cleaner, easier, and you have less chance of the plants floating once you do fill up with water. Now you might be noticing what I'm doing with the planting itself. Plant in the middle, plant either side, and then keep halving that distance, and then you get the most economical coverage possible. I've never actually grown a full carpet of Cryptocorini parva before, so I'm actually quite excited about this prospect. It will take months, absolutely months, to achieve a full carpet. It is such a slow grower, and that for me is a good thing. You know, I don't want to be getting in there every week trimming. As much fun as trimming is, unfortunately, with 4 aquascapes on the go now, I don't have time to be trimming carpets every week. That's one of the reasons I did change the Better Cube scape quite considerably, and you can expect an update on that soon. And then thanks to everyone that watched that video. It's done really well, and a lot of you were giving me feedback about whether Nimrod should remain in the Flex or go back in the Cube, and I think around, I want to say probably 90–95% of you were saying how great he looked in the Flex. So that is something I'm really considering. What's people's thoughts on having the Better with tank mates such as the Tetras that he is with now? Should he be left in there with them, or should they be rehomed and we leave the whole Flex as a home to Nimrod? Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think to this. Should Nimrod keep his tank mates, or should he have that whole Foodville Flex to himself? Let me know. Always interested to know what your thoughts are. Always read all of your comments, and they're always really appreciated. Okay, next we're going to plant our Bucophalandra species red, and most of you will know by now how I like to plant, really lazily, and just pop it in gaps. That will self-attach. The rhizome and the roots will creep over the wooden rocks and self-attach over the next few weeks and months. Bucophalandra is another shade-loving plant like Anubias, so we will be using floating plants on here. Another option you could do, the Twinstar light I'm using is the Twinstar 600S. This is actually quite a powerful light. It's 45 watts and at full brightness it is, you know, quite a powerful unit. So you can actually purchase inline dimmers. Really therapeutic, this process, guys. You know, take your time doing it, enjoy it. You know, you're creating a work of art. It should be, you know, a lovely thing. Don't see it as a chore. To keep our plants from drying out. Okay, next we're going to attach our Anubias Petite. This is like a real small form of Anubias nana, really beautiful, from Tropica. And again, I'm looking for areas where I can self-attach. We're running out, so I'm going to go to the super glue here. This is cyanochrolite super glue, which is like a gel type, which hopefully doesn't run like some super glues can. So we just put a small dot on the wood, there we go, and then we offer up the plant, and we ideally want to glue the fleshy portion, which is called the rhizome, against the wood. A lot of people don't like to see the roots, but I actually find them quite attractive. You know, they're a natural thing, like an essence of a willow tree perhaps. Here's a nice little area where we can put some glue on this rock here, petite here, and then just offer that up. Press gently, count to 10. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we've got a nice little shelf here which we can pop some glue in, and then again offer up our plant. 10. That's embarrassing. Bryn's phone's gone off. Comes to my house, drinks my coffee, and then eats my food. Doesn't put his phone on. Do not disturb. Ray. My friend who owns Scape Nature, this aquascaping shop in Norwich. I've done a couple of videos with him, and he both times his phone's gone off during the filming, and even though he's put on Do Not Disturb. Yeah. But on the Google Pixel 3, apparently, the Do Not Disturb doesn't include your contacts. Oh. So you have to, it's a setting. Okay, last plant we're going to plant today is Microsorum Terapus Narrow, one of my favourite plants of all time, the good old Java fern. This is a narrow leaf variety. And I'm just going to wedge it around about there, just off centre. This is going to add immediate kind of focal point. Good. So there's the planting done for today. Give it a final spray. Okay guys, that's the planting done for today. Part 1 of the video is almost complete. I want to give a special thanks to Bryn for coming all the way over, helping me out film. Pretty sure he's done some really cool shots throughout the process, and you would have seen that a part of this video. And he does have a YouTube channel which I don't think has any subscribers right now, but he is going to hit it really hard soon, so he'd really appreciate it if you gave him a subscribe. And if you're into underwater filming, boating, anything to do with kind of stuff on the ocean, diving, etc., then consider subscribing to Bryn. I'll leave a link in the description. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that part 1 of the process, setting up the soil, the hardscape, and some of the planting. In part 2, we'll talk in much more detail about the more planting and the equipment as well. So I'm really looking forward to updating you soon. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. If you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. You take care. Keep on scaping. Cheerio. Almost having my eye out on that. It's quite lethal, isn't it?
Especially if you stand.
But if you want to pick your nose, you can always do it without using your fingers. It's quite nice, actually. It's quite a nice feeling.